I'm Gabriel, and this is Black Forest Comics Weekly Review Episode 41, where we're going to talk about some comics that came out last week, as well as some comics from this week, and a little bit of news that we scrounged up at the last minute because, well, that was my bad. Alright, so let's get started with some of last week's comics. Alright, first up we have a crossover comic from Boombox Comics and DC Comics. It's going to be Lumberjanes and Gotham Academy. It's going to be a short 6-issue story arc based around Gotham Academy itself. The people of the Lumberjane world are going to be camping right outside the camp, and they come across some ghosts, some interesting things. And towards the end of the comic, they end up working with Maps and her crew from Gotham Academy, and they meet at the very end to fight off some type of demon-type deal that comes up. And that's kind of the issue. So it's a 6-part series, real quick series that's coming out. Good for family, good for kids, about working together. So check that one out. That's Lumberjanes Gotham Academy, issue number 1. It's going to be a 6-part series. All right, next up. Can't say how awesome this one was. Wacky Raceland, issue number 1 from DC Comics. See DC's new logo? What do you think? I don't know. Let me know how you feel about that. So yeah, this is a rendition of the original 80s cartoon, Wacky Raceland Racers. And it has all the exact same characters. So what happens is you have this godlike voiceover that gives vehicles sentient life. And these vehicles are attached to their owners. And that's what happens. You have these vehicles that talk, and these owners that work with them, and together they're trying to survive this race to get out of the dystopian wasteland that they're in, to get into the paradise that is somewhere that they can't reach after the world has went through all these devastating calamities that has kind of destroyed it. They're just trying to get their racers out of there. That's what they're doing. They're trying to race to this paradise. So yeah, it's not for kids. It's for adults. It's a really fun read. It's Wacky Raceland from DC Comics, issue number 1. So check that one out. All right, next up, Life and Death Prometheus, issue number 1. So this is going to pick up after the short run series Life and Death Predator. In that one, we saw that the Predators were on a planet, and there was a ship that this mining company sent some soldiers to go over there to claim their property, because there was another mining company there, and they went to go get the property, they went to go claim it, and they came across the Predators, had to fight the Predators. They lost a lot of their crew. They ended up getting the Prometheus ship up and out into orbit, and so this is where that picks up. At the end of the Predator comic, they killed the Predator, other Predators came, did the thing that they always do, know the game. So that's what happened, and now we have this, one of the Forerunners comes alive. If you read the Predator comic, you saw at the very end they were shooting up one of the, accidentally shot one of the holding tanks for one of these Forerunners, and its eyes open up. So in this comic, they're in space, they're kind of have a surveying team going over that ship, and they're looking at it, and that guy comes alive, and he starts wrecking shop. He just starts killing all the Space Marines, he starts killing all the surveyors, just starts destroying it, and then he gets in the ship and he takes off, and the Marine ship says, follow that ship, don't lose it, and so they tried their best to keep up with it, and that's the end of the issue. Interesting to see where this is going. It might take us back to Earth. We'll see where that goes. All right. Lastly, for last week's comics, we have Constantine, issue number 13. Lucky number 13 for Constantine. I'm a big Constantine fan. So if you have been reading the comic, you know that Constantine's in New York, and there's a demon called Neron, and he kind of owns New York. He likes the way that all the souls taste in New York, because there's so many different types of people. It's one of the most exciting places, and so that's why he's in New York. That's why he's kind of made this his territory. And Neron has 2 children from a ex-lover or current lover of Constantine that Constantine tries to get. And Neron's like, I have this deal, it's already sealed, there's nothing you can do about it. And so Constantine in issue number 12 is like, okay, well, I'll figure something out, and he goes and he contacts some of the other magical beings of the world. He contacts Zatanna, Swamp Thing, and Deadman, and they're doing this incantation that gives Constantine power, gives John Constantine power to make New York a very bland place. Literally, he strips everyone's emotions and feelings away to where it's just a boring place. And Neron's like, well, I don't want this. And then Constantine makes him an offer. Someone else comes, another godlike creature, demon-like creature, and tells Neron, you know what, well, I like it. I want to trade for it. And so they make a trade. Constantine tells the new owner, says, look, I brokered this deal. Let me have those 2 girls. Let me have their souls. And that other demon creature or whatever is like, well, I would, but they're already gone. And so Constantine did all this work, almost killed himself to do it, goes back, tells his ex-lover or whatever, I can't get your daughters back. Turns out that ex-lover actually already sold their soul to get their children back. So in pops Neron, laughs, burns that person to the ground. Yeah, and that's the end. Constantine, at the very end of this, Constantine is done with everything, done with being who he is, and is literally walking away. He's leaving New York and going to I don't know where, and he says he's done. So we'll see what happens with John Constantine. This is going to be part of the new Rebirth program. What comes out of John Constantine's life now, I don't know. We'll find out. All right, so that concludes the comics from this week. There's a whole or from last week. There's a whole bunch of good ones. There's a Rebirth, Aquaman, Flash, Detective Comics. There were some really good ones. It's just I don't want to hit on the Rebirth too much. They were good though. But I just want to get you some other things that are out there. All right, so this week's comics. Let's get started with them. All right, so there's a few comics that are coming out next week that we really want to hit on, just to let you know that they're going to be available. Batman, issue number 1. I don't know if you had the opportunity to read the Batman Rebirth story. It's better than some of the other ones. It gives you more of a basis of what's going to happen. So it's interesting to see him building up this new team. Him and his cousin now, Batwoman. Turns out they're cousins. Thanks, Rebirth. Beauty, issue number 8 from Image is coming out. Civil War 2, issue number 2 is coming out. We've already seen the death of Rhodey, and at the end of issue number 1, we saw supposedly Jennifer Walters, She-Hulk, die as well from the injuries sustained from Thanos. So this is really interesting to see where it's going with that. Deadpool, issue number 14 for all your Deadpool fans. Dungeons and Dragons, issue number 2 is coming out. Scooby-Doo Apocalypse as well, issue number 2. Superman number 1 will be coming out this week as well, which is going to be interesting because the rebirth for Superman was just, I don't know what was going on. I didn't explain anything to me. There was a whole bunch of new characters. There was a Clark Kent from nowhere. There was, I don't know. Read it. Find out together. See what's going on in this craziness. Also, next week we have Tales from Darkside, issue number 1. That's right, Tales from the Darkside. The original 80s horror nighttime flick is coming back in the form of a comic, which they had a comic way back in the day. So that's pretty cool to see back. Then also 10 Girls, 2 Girls, 1 Tank, issue number 2 is coming out. And lastly, for all my fellow Valiant fans, Wrath of the Eternal Warrior, issue number 8 is coming out. So that's concluding some of the comics that are coming out next week. Again, there's a whole bunch more. It's just I'm kind of hitting on some of the ones I think you should read because they're pretty awesome. All right? Or at least they're going to explain something better than what Rebirth did. All right, Superman, I'm talking to you. All right, so let's talk about some of the news that's come up. Just 2 things we really want to hit on for the news this week. Number 1 being World of Warcraft. I don't know if you've seen it. I'm not sure if the people from Rotten Tomatoes saw it, but it was pretty good for what it was. Me, personally, I've never played the game, and my knowledge as far as the World of Warcraft world went as far as knowing that there's something called a horde and something called an alliance, and they're fighting. That's all I knew, but after watching this movie, I feel pretty informed about the whole World of Warcraft mythos. It was a good movie. The special effects were good. The costumes were great. The magic was amazing. It was like what I wish the previous D&D movies would have been. This World of Warcraft nailed it. I really enjoyed that. So if you have a chance, get out and see the World of Warcraft. Hopefully you're not going to have somebody narrating the whole movie behind you like I did, which is a pain in the butt. Also, second thing we want to discuss is Leah Thompson is returning in Howard the Duck issue number 8, which came out last week. At the very end of the issue, she was showing up at Howard the Duck's detective agency. Now, what's interesting about it is they're showing two different Bevs. So they have the original Beverly, who Leah Thompson played, appearing in the comic as Beverly, and he goes to go see her and says, I want you to work with me again. And then also at the very end, they have the actual Leah Thompson show up saying, I'm Leah Thompson. So it's interesting. Issue number 8, Howard the Duck, just came out last week. Go check that one out. It's a pretty cool comic. Grab it, take it with you to some comic convention where Leah Thompson's at, have her autograph it, take a picture with her holding it up. All right, that's Howard the Duck, issue number 8 that came out last week. So grab that issue, Leah Thompson, go check it out, take it to the convention. So that's going to be it for the news this week. Again, we just want to say our hearts and prayers are going out to people in Orlando with this tragic event that happened. You know, if we can have all these worldly things, but if we don't have love, then we have nothing. So just keep that in mind. You know, our hearts and prayers with all the people in the incident. All right, so we'll see you next week. Give me 1 second, please. Are you ready? It's Archimedes. Is the creeper ready? The shadows do that sometimes. Oh, and now's my phone. Perfect timing. Creeper. Are you done? Are you done?